see if this guy goes. And Facebook should be connecting. Should be. It's fetching a video stream. We're live on the other ones. We're just waiting for Facebook.
Nice.
And I'm going to say go live. Here we go. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, let's do it.
Very Dad Ideas, a live streaming show with two dads, a voice actor, and an animator who put the kids to bed and get permission from their wives to dick around on their expensive computers. They have been known to say things like, touch it, way, way back.
That was way back. That
What did like
actually touched me way back.
what, did like a fly just like fly into your throat?
No, just my improperly warmed up voice. Congratulations, folks! You made it to 9:30 on a Tuesday night. We are, as you can see, smoking and drinking.
Welcome to Very Dad Ideas. Welcome, Blessed
Yeah.
Man 23. This is an episode tonight where we're talking about video games and a bunch of other stuff. Darren, I asked you to do the opening as Optimus Prime. It was necessary. I felt like
I failed in that mission.
Even now, this is great. So,
It's impossible to maintain his voice for very long.
so Darren, this is episode 24. We've done 24 of these now. Can you believe that?
24. Yeah, that is a Kiefer Sutherland amount of shows.
There you go. So this is our Kiefer
That's
special.
one Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah.
One Kiefer special. Episode 24,
Yeah.
we're talking video games that you probably like. We're going to talk about like old-fashioned stuff, the arcade types, not that newfangled Fortnite nonsense that you...
We're going to what Wikipedia calls the golden age of video games.
Is that...
We're also going to discuss platforming, but yeah, the golden age of video gaming was sort of the 1980 through 1988.
Oh.
They don't give it to the 70s; they give it to the 80s. I would agree because, like,
I'll go later. I'm going to talk a little bit about mechanics, but
I love that, and I'll go present tense. There's plenty of great video games out right now. I've been when I can put the time away, I've been playing State of Decay 2, which is just sort of a whole new take on what a video game is.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's
Darren,
basically a game about hoarding, So.
I mean, which is most of video game really is about collecting
Yeah,
stuff.
it used to be about hoarding the physical copies. This is much more useless because it all happens on the computer screen.
So Darren, I wanted to say that we've cleaned up the show. The Purple Mountains.
Yeah, the Purple Mountains are not rotating for anybody anymore. They've slowed.
There they are.
Yeah,
And
they are.
I wanted to call your attention to the website now, Very Dad Ideas. It's been updated now, so if you come to the website, all the episodes are there, everything.
Yeah.
And I set up what I'm calling the top 10 of our last 24 episodes.
Nye thinks that there's a chance that you'll listen to 10 of them. That's what's happening here, folks. If you're, I mean, he really thinks that you'll get through 10 of them.
Well, I was thinking, I wanted to like sort of like curate some of the content a little bit. So
let it mellow, let it simmer, and sort of.
Yeah, and so and if you go to Buzzsprout, all of the podcasts are there, but also we were connected to what's that thing called? Spotify this week. So if anyone cares and is like Spotify, we are on that. But man, we really these mountains are not. I might have to go back to the old ones. So,
man.
But before we do that,
graphic processor.
We always start our show with either a Dad Vice or a Tales from the Dad side, and tonight is no different. So we're going to do that.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
We're doing Tales from the Dad side tonight.
Yeah, and Tubby Vader is there to kick us off.
Tubby Vader is there just to say. I was gonna come in.
He'll come back. He'll come back.
So
he
needed a little bit of a whooping.
So, Darren, tonight on our Tales from the Dad side, I want to talk a little bit about this weekend where I was with the two kids on a Sunday, and I
Had them all to yourself, did you?
had them all to myself. And so, what I had to do was, Lisa was came back from the night shift, and then she started. She had to sleep, and so she wanted to get up in the middle of the day. We had friends coming over at 5 o'clock, so already I had to get Lisa up in the afternoon, and then I had friends at 5 o'clock. That also meant that I had to get to the store, and I had to get things to grill. I had to get food and vegetables at that particular point. But also in the morning, Griff was running the scooter around indoors, so I felt like I needed to get him outside to burn off some energy before I even took him to the store. So I fumbled through the day, and it worked out okay. But given that information, how would you approach that day?
Yeah, man. I think again, and planning is gonna always serve you better. So like, if there was any way you could, I mean, if you could put out some stuff like ready to go like Saturday, so that you know that if you're really gonna go hit the park, and then you also have an infant, right? You have like a 9-month-old.
Yeah, I'm carrying around an infant constantly, so that means like that's also part of it, right? So
So I mean, like for me, it's like when I know I got a day like that, I start the night before, right?
I wasn't that smart. So day of, you're starting in the morning, and you went. So
day of, you start in the morning, like then you have that first nap. That first nap is going to be where you can get most of that stuff done.
Well, yes, I did try. So Toby went down for a nap, and then I thought, okay, well, once Toby is up, I'll take him and Griff outside, and I'll let Griff scooter around. And that was good, and I got to burn a lot of energy off, and I think that was good. But by the time we got back, I was then crunched by the pressure of, oh wait, nap time is approaching. I still need to go to the store.
Lunch and second nap.
And the store. And so
yeah, man.
It kind of screwed up. So I didn't know how to deal with it.
No, I think that's the thing is that like you either store is the first thing in the morning, which I love. That's one of my favorite things to do is like, because your kids are still like adorable at that stage, like in the right in the morning, like 7:30. I'm talking early, like because I don't know, our kids are up, man. And if I drag Luke, and if I bring Sam, like I'll take Luke to school. This is how we did kindergarten. Took Luke to school, and I took Sam, was just like 8 months, just pop him in the Bjorn or whatever.
Yeah.
Go to Target or Safeway, whatever. Whatever inventory you're looking for.
Yeah.
And boom, a grocery store. The worst thing about grocery shopping in the very early morning is that you're just like you're competing with like space with all the stockers.
So this is interesting. This is good. You think that if the store is on your agenda, you should do that thing first thing in the morning, just like right off the bat,
especially in LA, dude.
Right?
The one time when there's no traffic in LA is in the early morning. I mean. That's not even true.
That's not even true. That's not even true.
No, but you sort of have to go after those guys. In LA, this rule doesn't apply. I mean, maybe you can do it in Long Beach, but
Long Beach is not a problem. The traffic is not really the problem, but like I think what it was I was just jammed with too many events over the course of the day. I think I had to solve it by essentially waking my wife up at 2 and then multitasking. So I feel like I failed, but I think in the future I'm going to take your advice. We are dovetailing into dad advice. Is if you have to shop at the store, do it first thing in the day with the kids.
Do it, yeah. Because I mean, like honestly, you're like the little one is just like sort of like that.
Yeah.
And then if you've got a bigger one, the bigger one is just you're just hustling them along, and there's fewer people, so there's less distractions.
Right. Right, for sure.
I mean, I don't know. You have cute kids, so like people are always wanting to like jam at your kids, and you're just like, I have to get these fuckers like back in the car, and get get them like laundry and like all this other stuff going on. So
yeah, for sure.
We're domesticized here. We have to get our cattle back home. I'm just taking the ones with my brands on them, and we're leaving.
And roll them out.
Roll the fuck out.
All right, so why don't we move on to talking about video games that you probably like?
Darren, games that you probably like.
Darren, you start with a stack of things that you wanted to get going on, and so I'm going to let you kick it off with us tonight. I got particularly one game that I like. It's a little obscure, I guess. Maybe you won't, but it's. I think it talks about a genre of games in general. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about platformer games, and I know this game you're talking about. And we've talked about it, I think, on other episodes because this
have we.
This has been a big one for you.
So
what you love the mechanic, and I thought it was pretty cool. Like I watched you play a bunch of it.
Yeah.
That blue red thing. What is it?
Yeah, it's called Outland. So we'll get it. Yeah. Should I just start?
Yeah. Why don't you jump in with Outland, and then we'll talk about Golden Age stuff. But I think Outland is like a perfect example because it's pretty, but it's like it's set up so that you could probably play Outland. Lo-fi enough that you could probably play it on anything. You probably play it on your phone.
Not phone because it really is designed for much more than that. So this is Housemarque. This is a studio that is in. Let me turn down the sound. The sound design is freaking fantastic, regardless. But This is a platformer. I mean, a pretty classic platformer. And when people are like, "Oh, whatever, platformers," the thing that I found about this is that this is an indie studio that really went to bat to make a really great platformer. The person playing this game right now is terrible at it, so it's not really giving a great sense. But as somebody,
I've seen you're aces at this fucking game. Dude.
I have beat this game so many times.
8 ways to Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, and you keep building on the mechanic, and you keep building on the mechanic, and it's not even like you're sort of a generic-y kind of character, and it's sort of a generic-y sort of world, and it's kind of a generic-y sort of platformer. So it makes you wonder, like, why would you want to play something like this? And the response is one, it's super cool to look at. It's very chill. Yeah. It's kind of atmospheric, but I just think that they spent so much time on the balancing and the whatnot that really makes this game feel good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those intangibles with games is that and then people talk about the feel of it.
The feel of it.
How you feel when you're playing it.
And it harks back. I think that there's probably just an entire genre of people who grew up on the Metroids of the world or the open world.
Metroid and Contra and like all the.
But this is a like an open world kind of explorer type of thing. So yeah, you get your sword here and you sort of level up. And then I also think that the thing I love about this game is that the boss fights are just so superbly built. And boss fights, certainly for me in this kind of thing, is really key because boss fights are all about patterns, right? It's about learning the pattern of the boss and then trying to understand, how to backwards architect that pattern and then get really good at it. So this is
now when you use the term backward architect, explain that because I don't know what that is.
So like. A boss or any bad guy generally follows a pattern, right? So you see these guys come out of the ground, these little sort of scorpion-y looking good guys. They follow a pattern. You know when you get to a certain point, they pop out of the ground, they come at you, they stop, they attack. And so you can begin to time your melees and your movements based on how these guys are moving. And so you get better at fighting them just based on how they're moving it, right? So so what a boss really is a complex series of like so here's
code.
It's a code. It's a complex series of things that you're watching to try to so he does this, he does this, he does this, he does this, and then he does this. So you have to wait, move, and then do that. And this game is really, really good at that. I mean, some games like Mega Man, for example, you're literally memorizing pixel by pixel how this moves. And this one is so this is the first boss. The most complicated boss at the end is these sisters that you're fighting, and you basically.
I remember these things. I remember when you were fighting these things.
Yeah, I spent weeks trying to beat these guys and spending lots of time on YouTube researching this and watching other people play it. And I also
that's when it's got you good. And what I think is interesting is that like you've played it and beat it and played it again and beat it.
Yes.
And like more of those. Most people, and I think a lot of people who play video games would agree, people start playing a video game when they get bored.
Yeah.
That's just it. Like people play to like 3/4 of the way through, and then like I don't know, once they've sort of crested the difficulty curve, they have sort of the best power up, the challenge is gone.
Right, and they won't do that. But I think the thing about this is really excellent. And one of the things that I really loved about this game, as opposed to some of the other games as I played, is I tried to beat this boss. It was like the High Priestess in the Second World, and I went in there and I couldn't beat her. I couldn't beat her, and I couldn't beat her. And I realized the reason was that I just basically blew through the Second World. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to play the Second World all over again. And I did it, and I savored it, and I went down each of the little crannies, and there were little skill challenges that were associated with each one of these things. And they basically taught you how to beat the boss by really playing the level. And I admired the craftsmanship of the level design on that, because it's like, this is a game that's teaching you how to play the game, and you won't pass the boss unless you've mastered the skills you need to do. And that, I feel, is a skill that is like sorely missing in really good game design.
You're absolutely right, man. I mean, that reminds me of the first couple of Ultima games, and just like where you had to sort of know your shit to be able to get past. There was a difficulty level, and it wasn't just games as service kind of thing, which I think you get a lot of now, where it's like it's a shooter, but there's just cover everywhere, so you don't really have to do anything.
Yes. Or you're playing an explorer or story game where you're just kind of like going from one thing to the next. And the thing I really love about platformers is that it is a skill Twitch-based game that weaves in a narrative that keeps you, at least this one does, keep me really engaged. And there are others that I can recommend that are very similar. Like there's a game by Drinkbox Studio called Guacamelee, which is kind of a cartoon.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
It's a cartoony kind of you're a what's it called? When you're a Mexican wrestler.
A luchador.
A luchador. You are a luchador. And it's the art on this is so fantastic. This is another one. In fact, it's using the exact same mechanic. Which
is that a PC game, or is that?
These are all consoles, and I actually recommend playing on consoles. I feel like you want to be playing with sticks. You don't want to be moving with mice and stuff like that. And so, yeah. So
yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so this is a really great one as well. This is actually a very similar mechanic, which is that you are flipping between red and blue, or you're flipping between the nether dimensions, and you have to solve puzzles to do it. So maybe when we get the live draw part, I'll talk a little bit about like platforming design. But I think these are really, really great games, and they just continue the design that started with my love of these kind of games, with like the Metroids back in the day.
Yeah.
So
I think this all sort of dovetails into what I thought was interesting about these games that I'd picked from the golden age. Just that you had games that were really, really trying to get you into their world, their game, get you thinking about their levels and stuff like that. Like you said, like exploring every nook and cranny. Like I think in the 80s you had to immerse people, but people were doing it in crazy ways, like the Battlezone cabinet, right?
The Battlezone cabinet. Should we check that out?
Yeah, it had two controllers. It had the periscope screen that you were sort of looking through. So right away, you would just stand up, put your whole body up against this thing.
Oh, by the way, we had a friend of mine, Keika, join, and she said that the platformer looked like the old Prince of Persia.
Oh, totally, yeah. Prince of Persia, man. Like the first couple of Prince of Persias were, before Jake Gyllenhaal was in it.
Oh God. Okay, so. So this is
there you go. There's Battlezone. So there's Battlezone. You're looking right there through the.
Wow, you went real old school on this. This is like really interesting.
You couldn't just pull out some other computer game and pop that into the Battlezone thing, because Battlezone was made to do one thing, and that was fucking play Battlezone.
That was play Battlezone. Yeah, I liked this this kind of like wire graphics type of thing. It also reminds me of the Star Wars, the original Star Wars cabinet game.
Yeah, there you're looking at it right there. It's right there in that.
This one. Yeah, where
my son plays that at high scores. Every once in a while, we'll go up there, and they have that. And
so I mean, give me the skinny. What was it about this game that was?
Well, I thought for Battlezone, it was that you literally, it was sort of the first level of immersion where they're like, we're actually going to pull your human body as close to the monitor of this computer game as you can. So you literally physically had to stand up against the machine.
Right.
Anyway, so I thought Battlezone just sort of like in the way that the cabinetry and that they were thinking sort of outside the idea of just one joystick. Because I mean, back then it was a joystick and maybe one or two buttons. Because Defender didn't come down the line for another couple of years yet. Defender had, an amazing amount of buttons. I'm not even talking about Defender, but like Defender had one of those things where you spread your hand out on the buttons in the beginning and just sort of hope that you could remember what each one of them did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so
like,
you're saying that like because of the sticks,
just by the physicality of how they
just
built
having this, and it's interesting in those early days because you were also designing the input as well as the game itself, right? You had to control it in a way, and then things started to get pretty standardized, with the Atari and whatever. But
right, but in those the Wild West days, I mean, people would go in there and beat the shit out of these video games. You remember? You remember just being there? I can almost hear it now, like in my head, just like being in an arcade.
Yeah.
Well, just like the guy on Battlezone is really taking it seriously, which was probably me. I was 7, but just like really giving those joysticks like the what for, jamming on the fire buttons, and just like with a sweaty face pressed up against the that periscope.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like, and like right there. Boom! He just blew up a tank, and like that was a hell of a shot because it was just hard to pull off.
That was epic. So what are some of the other ones? Are they all in the same sort of genre that you're talking
Sinestar,
about?
With Sinestar, I thought Sinestar again was another game that had custom shit. It was the first game that came out in stereo, and then it also had like its joystick. No, S-I-N. S-I-N-I star.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is. There's the motherfucker. That dude actually fucking scared me. Like he was the first
scaring me now
thing that I was scared of with like a video game. Like before then it was all cute. I mean, I suppose it was a little scary when when you could turn on the ghosts and eat them in Pac-Man, but
right.
Sinestar in stereo saying, "I hunger." Like
what was the mechanic? I don't think I've ever played this game. What
it had a joystick on it that was another like a special joystick.
But what were you doing? What were you trying to do with this
You're racing like a little tiny little, right? Like you've just got this little douchey little ship with a couple of guns.
Yeah.
And then this thing comes flying at you, and you have to like chip away at him. And you do that. You have to collect. You had to collect shit.
So
that was like
kind of like Yar's Revenge, and the graphics graphics kind of look like what was that game? Gyrus. Remember Gyrus or
totally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and you sort of dissolved his face like in Gyrus or those other ones where you had shields for your shooter on like asteroids.
Yeah. Right. Right. So what else did you? I mean, you just brought lots in. What was the other one that you brought in?
I just want to talk about Spy Hunter because again, it was another game where like immersion wise, like, and you want to talk about patterns, and like how you played, like Spy Hunter, you had to memorize a lot of shit to get to the boat.
Dude, Spy Hunter was an extremely difficult game.
It was a crazy hard game.
It was a crazy hard game. And
it was deceptively simple, though. Because, I mean, like, when you first play it, you're just like, oh, I'm just driving a car with machine guns, and you can blow everybody away.
Yeah, and they do that on purpose.
First 1,000 seconds free. Like, it wouldn't start taking your lives away until, like,
also, do you realize
play for a second.
how fast the game really goes? I mean, you're screaming really, really fast. In fact,
it's a tiny little bit of road.
I remember like standing by the Spy Hunter cabinet and looking at it and being like, I can't wait to get next, and like just like loving the music and like seeing all the things and the road slick and being like, oh, I can't wait, and then just having a painfully short session.
Just getting blown the fuck away, like
just getting. Yeah, I'm not
shithead with the wheel spikes would come out and just shred your tires.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Where is that guy? Where the helicopter?
Yeah,
this guy right here. Yeah.
Yeah, just
right.
a son of a bitch.
But
yeah, I mean, like honestly, Spy Hunter, and it played the Peter Gunn theme the entire time. That again, another level of immersion. And then you combine that with that tricked out fucking steering wheel that you got to like handle. Like that was most of the fun.
Yeah.
Literally got to feel like James Bond for it.
Yeah,
This is like 1982. This is like when Never Say Never Again came out at the same time that like Octopussy, I think, came out. Two Bond movies that summer.
That's right, 2 Bond movies. That one was recognized and one wasn't. You know.
One was recognized and one was like, we don't.
So let me ask you this: like, do you like driving games? I mean, is this do you ever really play driving games? I mean, I just don't really get into them all that much.
I have a buddy who plays Forza, and when, you know, like the last time I got to hang out with him was oddly enough about 6 years ago. But yeah, we would play it. Like he's set up like a couple of boxes. Like he set up like screens and PlayStations and steering wheels so that you can play it. But no, there's just too much peripheral shit for me. Like
it's just not. I mean, after a while, I start to get bored. I know that it's the customization that people like with that stuff, and I think it's sort of limited. I guess also race. What is it? There's this phenomena in game design. It's called Dead Man Walking. It's this. I think that's what it is. It's basically when you reach a point in the game that everyone just wants to stop playing because there's no way that they can win. Right. So, like, if you're playing soccer and you're killing the other team is just kind of like dead man walking, or I think that's what it is. I'll have to look up this term.
That makes sense.
But it's, I think, in racing, I feel like that happens a lot. I feel like if someone is in last place, they're kind of just like, fuck this. Right.
The only racing game I ever liked was Hydro Thunder, and it's not a driving game; it's a boat race game. But it was because it had like, they're like in. If you're in like a seated thing and you can play against other people, like it's fun.
Yeah,
that is fun. But yeah, like playing Forza or just like Need for Speed and just sort of kitting out your area to look like a place where you drive. I mean, right? I mean, like I drive all the time. Like, and I drive a pretty hot car. I mean,
the Phasma, Lady Phasma, is that what it is?
The family Phasma, and then
the family Phasma.
Yeah.
You can find
my backup, which is a 2010 Hyundai Elantra. So I mean, I drive a performance car when I'm not driving the family Phasma. So I don't know. So yeah, to take a long way to answer your question, and I don't ever spend any time playing a driving game unless somebody else is like, we're playing a driving game.
Right. Well, let's take a quick break, D, and we're going to go back to our live draw. We got a special treat for our live draw tonight. I'm going to wait to reveal it when we get on the other side.
That's right. This is a new one. This is sort of a
new thing, but we'll call up our friend.
It's a new old thing. Oh, you son of a bitch, Tubby Vader. Let's do it.
And so that was our first segment. We're going to take a quick break where we're going to listen to our good friend Jen Remington some music.
We're going to listen to a little Jen Remington.
She's over there at HeyDog, HeyDog.com. And we'll be right back with a special live draw. We'll be right back.
A very special live draw.
All right, we'll be right back.
The cast of Different Strokes. About
Nintendo is that they're just fun sort of games to play. So Keika mentioned Mario Kart. That's a great racing game. I just think Nintendo in general makes good collaborative fun.
They do.
They just know how to do that.
They do when they went too nuts on the Wii. They went crazy and they had like a
They did
At a
kind
summer
of.
or an E3 or something like that, where they just went a little fucking.
So, Darren, we have a great new draw tonight because I'm actually going to draw
We're going analog
on paper tonight.
Yeah.
Which is I got another camera here to try to just try this out, see if this works, and we'll do this. I can move a lot faster, but like I still need to figure out what we're gonna draw.
He is, and you guys just relax. Maybe step back from the, because that's a hot hand. That's a good looking.
Is it? Yeah, it's
Good
pretty
looking man hand there for you guys to take a look at.
pretty.
I think we should. I think we should have Sinestar in there, and I think we should have your sword guy from Outland or something like that.
Yeah. So how does that guy look? He's sort of like.
Sinestar, I think that's pretty much right. And then it's just like they're at a diner, and he's like, I hunger, and maybe
Yeah, let me see if I can see that guy again. Sinestar is his name, right? Oh yeah, he's like
there he is.
There he is. Yeah.
He's very sinister.
He's kind of like.
I'll have the blue plate special.
Okay, we can do that. The blue plate special. We'll put him in a diner, I guess.
So, yeah, I was the other game I was going to talk about, like especially Golden Age wise, was Punch Out.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
And that came out in '84, and again, it was another one of those things where they had its a specific joystick. There were, a few different buttons. There was the knockout button, which was great. Really made you feel like you were doing something because it had a different sort of punch to it than the other buttons did.
Yeah, I had a bunch of friends who were really into Punch Out.
And you really had to go with patterns and combinations, stuff like that. There was.
You know what? I did not have a Nintendo. I was a Commodore 64 video game player.
Were you? I love the Commodore 64. Very few people had Commodores, but there were really awesome games on those.
Yeah, it was super fun. There was
Ultima was on. Wasn't the first Ultima?
I never played that, but I was trying to think what else was. Raid on Bungling Bay was Will Wright, who did.
Oh yeah, man, Will Wright did a ton of shit.
Yeah, did the Sims, right? No, and Sim City and all that sort of stuff. But that was his first professional game. Was Raid on Bungling Bay, and it was great. You were like a helicopter on a aircraft carrier, top down,
nice.
Like this, and then you could fly around anywhere in the world. So there was like an endless map that you could fly, and you were always looking down and like shooting like this, but you could fly off the end of the map and it would cycle. And it was one of the first games that had a endless world in it. And it showed just the slightest bit of Will Wright genius that went on to he did all kinds of crazy stuff after.
Yeah, I mean he's done. That guy's never stopped working. He's like an institution. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean the Sims have been a big deal. So here's Sinestar.
Yeah. So was he like a founding thing of Maxis before EA bought it?
Yes. I don't know much about his background. I think he's
a little bit for one of those guys for a second, didn't you?
For EA, yeah, I worked for the Sims.
On the Herbs
Sims in the City. Yes,
Herbs, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those that came off, and they were just that might have been one of the last ones before EA bought them, or was that the first one when EA bought them? I don't know.
What does he have? What would Sinestar have in his diner here? What does he say?
I'll have what he's having. I don't know.
What does he say in the game?
Well, he says, I hunger.
Oh.
And then I think...
I hunger. Was it Japanese?
Probably somewhere. But what was great is that he was coming from both sides of both speakers.
Oh, really? Just
stereo? Because it was crazy. You were just, the difference was... I mean, it was just that was what was happening in the 80s. There was stereo TV. Your TV plays 2 channels.
Right, exactly.
And it blew all of us away. You'd pay an extra quarter for a video game that played two speakers.
You also were telling me a little bit about like when we were chatting. Hey, maybe we should talk about video games. You instantly went to Ikari Warriors. Is that right? Like,
Oh my God! Well, again, Ikari Warriors had a fancy joystick.
Yeah.
And it had you had the ability to become Rambo, or Rambo's like blue guy.
And you would like move up,
right?
You
were top down. You were top down, and it was just
and
like wherever you turn the joystick, because it was a hexagonal joystick.
Yeah, you had like these directions.
Yep.
But the thing that was like you were also on a track, kind of moving forward, and then the bad guys would come again with the patterns, right?
Yeah.
So they would like.
Well, and you could get in tanks. You could get into a tank, and sort of it would be the same thing for a little bit.
Right, but it was like
there were power ups.
I think it was most video games were, your classic. I'm down here, and then the bad guys are coming like this at you
from the top of the screen.
This one like got rid of a ground, and you were just kind of like moving continuously.
Well, and they could come around. They could come from any of
the directions.
Yeah.
It also provided a really cool narrative, right? Like you were this guy that could shoot in multiple directions. So.
And you could keep moving forward the whole time. You could turn all the way around.
Yeah.
And shoot behind you while you were going.
So I think that this mechanic was really responsible for the twin stick shooter. I think like this is like a really early version of the twin stick.
Of a twin stick. That makes sense. I mean, it's sort of weird how they all arrived at the twin stick sort of around the same time. I mean, the evolution of controllers, from because in the 80s, right, they were crazy. ColecoVisions versus Intellivisions versus Ataris. Ataris was crazy simple. It was just like a stick and a one button. ColecoVision had a joystick and a bunch of other stuff, and like the Intellivision had like a keypad on it and a disc.
Right.
And then like 4 other buttons.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting to have watched the evolution. There's been a couple of documentaries that are very interesting on the evolution of video games and where they've come and where they're going. And I really like sticking with like the true stuff, which is the mechanics and the controlling, and then as opposed to we often get lost recently in the graphics. And the graphics are great, and yes, we're continuing down this graphics, but I often feel like really true video games are really about the mechanics, and then the narrative and how that narrative binds into that mechanic.
Well, like if you've ever played a Telltale game, they make some episodic content where they're sort of the choices actually will sort of
but that's
dictate the narrative. That's just like story structure.
It's like choose your own adventure, though, kind of, And
it is.
I would argue that like Assassin's Creed or Uncharted or whatever are also sort of like choose your own adventure, as opposed to like more mechanic-y games like the like the Outland or whatever that I just showed you, which is like so it's interesting. Anyways, so what did you think of the main draw here or live draw here on paper? I mean, what do you think I think what I need to do is get like better paper and like maybe some cool stuff to draw with, and then we'll because I think
I liked it. I think like you said, it's like you're more comfortable doing it this way. We could definitely do this.
Yeah.
It's weird that your hand is resting and then sort of the pen, right there. I mean that. I gotta say that's.
Can I like crush? Also, can I crush your?
It's. You can't get at me. You can't get at me.
Oh,
that's the funniest 10 seconds that I've ever been on the show. That was. You're welcome, America. That's it. That's as good as we can do.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our final segment. I've got a sort of a recommendation, and I've
got a recommendation.
Well, great, fantastic. So we'll do some Jen. She's over at heydog.com, and we'll be right back. Okay, bye. Let's do one more eye hunger for
Yeah, I need to. It's sort of here.
So go ahead. Let's do an eye hunger as we wait back here.
Eye hunger.
That is Sinestar's voice. So there you go.
That's yeah.
Great.
Little known, I'm the voice of Sinestar. Back in '82, I was a 9-year-old and I had the chops to pull that off. I can do that.
So this is our live draw. We've signed it off VDI 2018. A little out of focus. I can try to fit the focus.
Whatever.
But
Look,
we will.
That's not in the drawing though. That's not that. If you, the rest of it is there. It is.
Right. So let us.
There's Sinestar. He sort of looks like Brack, doesn't he?
He does a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. He totally does. So we're gonna save this guy and we're gonna put it on in our Instagram. I've decided that I'm not gonna put anything on our website because I just don't have the time. But our Instagram will have all of our live draws.
Boom.
And
boom. Instagram. You get a pick.
There you go. So if you'd like to see more of our scribbles and whatnot, you can go to our Instagram. Let me do some business and dovetail into this crap while we do that, man.
Let us know what we're working with.
Yeah. So I updated the show this week, and go to verydadideas.com. You can follow us pretty much anywhere at Very Dad Ideas. The guy over there is Darren Jennings. You can find him at darrenjennings.net. Ask him to do a Sinestar impression for you whenever you visit. I am NyeWarburton.com, and then our good friend Jen does all of our music.
And she's awesome.
She's on. So all the archive is now
you should throw
on.
some traffic at her. Yeah.
Yeah, the YouTube, the entire archive. So if you go to the website, Very Dad Ideas, and click on, watch us on YouTube, all of the archive of all the episodes are there. You can also go to Very Dad Ideas, Buzzsprout.com. And here's the big news of the week, Darren, that we're also on Spotify. So you can...
Oh, wow.
So you can subscribe to us on Spotify or iTunes or any of those wonderful things that we do.
They're just running out of names to name things.
I know.
Spotify seems like they...
Too many tech companies, too much crap. So you can find us on Facebook Live, on YouTube, or the Tube, as it's listed there.
Yeah, man.
Twitch, and also Periscope, which is part of Twitter. And then the show was made with a variety of Adobe products. We use OBS Studio. We restream I/O to the networks. Voice Meter Banana is the voices, and Discord is how Darren and I chat. So
all of it artisanal, all of it locally sourced.
That's right. It's all homegrown. We do this. We do this every week at 9:30 on Tuesday nights, and we do all this crap. So our last segment, we do recommendations.
Recommendations.
So Darren, what do you got for us?
I had to use my my phone for sort of a late night. What to do if you find a possum eating out of your cat's food bowl?
Okay.
And you know what my recommendation is don't leave food out at night.
That's advice.
It's like a fucking it's like a rule that everyone fucking knows. It's like I don't want my cat to not have food, and there's just a possums are quite possibly just gross. The grossest animal, not the grossest animal.
So your recommendation is not even a recommendation.
It's something not to do.
So there you go.
Yeah.
We're bending the rules this week on our recommendations.
Bending the rules.
That's great. So my recommendation is actually a recommendation.
Oh, good. Somebody who follows the rules.
So there is this game. I guess it's a game. It's called Crypto Kitties. This is a blockchain-enabled game where you can collect digital cats, and so this is all done with the Ethereum network, where you can get MetaMask. You can install MetaMask onto your machine. You can get a wallet. You can buy some Ethereum, and you can then buy your own cats. Now you can breed them together, and you can find other cats to breed them. The interesting thing about this is some of these cats are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I've seen that. This is.
So there's a
cats.
really interesting thing that's being used on the Ethereum blockchain. There are smart contracts that you allow you to take these cats and then use them and trade them, and it's basically ownership. It's digital ownership. So while the idea of cats is not super original, I think it's well executed, and it's also an early way of saying that in the future, I think it's going to be possible for you to be owning your own video game content. You'll be playing with the characters, or you're going to be having things that are digital.
Or you sort of own the inventory that your character.
Yeah, you literally own the inventory. So check them out. They're CryptoKitties, and I think you're going to see a number of other games that are along that line coming down that kind of path.
CryptoKitties. All right. So and then in that, do you have to spend $100,000 worth of?
No. So
a cat. $100,000.
No, the original cats come out like every 15 minutes. The Axiom Zen is the company that makes the kitties. They push the cats out. I think every 15 minutes, and they only have a limit of 50,000 cats, but there's actually far more than that, because people, once they started having cats, started breeding the cats. And what happened was certain breeding characteristics became more valuable, so people would breed the cats, and those bred cats would become more valuable. So the company that made it only made...
God, it almost sounds like a societal there's like a eugenics quality.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes, absolutely. It's a very interesting thing. I think it's very early days integrating blockchains into game development, but it's a curious thing that I'm definitely going to keep my eye on, because I think that there's going to be more games where people are going to own stuff and then they're going to build.
I'm going to check this out. I'm sort of scared because my initial reaction would be to I'll buy a couple Ethereums, but I'm sure an Ethereum is like 100,000.
Well, I think one is like $1,000, something like that.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So
and Ethereum, right? Because now it's like Bitcoin, $10,000.
Oh yeah, Bitcoin is crazy, but I mean the Ethereum is so I think, let's see, yeah, this is so this one is like 0.0015, right? And it's probably, I mean, some of these might be like a couple bucks.
That's a $20 cat.
Yeah, it's a $20
cat. Is the idea that you could build up a cat to a $10 cat or a?
Well, I think what it is that you get attributes or cat tributes from each of these cats, and then you breed them. So I want purple spots, so I'm going to buy this one, and then I need to, I haven't gotten too deep into it at this particular point, but it's definitely a very interesting phenomenon. So
did you yourself buy some Ethereum so that you could buy a cat?
I do own some Ethereum. Yes, I have some Ethereum. And then there's other ones. There's Crypto Strikers that just came out, which is like you can own cards of what's it called? Soccer players, right? So you collect basically cards for soccer players like this, and people. I don't know if anyone's using it yet, but you're going to start seeing this stuff. This kind of stuff. This stuff is going to start happening. So I don't know if it's really a recommendation. It's just something I'm kind of like paying attention to. And maybe we have to have exactly
the kind of stuff.
Maybe we should just have Sinestar on the blockchain.
I hunger for expensive cat.
All right. Well, this was sort of a low energy show, but
it wasn't.
It wasn't. Plenty of energy. Yes. So
insane amount of energy.
We will be back next week, Tuesday at 9:30. Please come in and join us or visit us.
That's right. And will it be is it like the 4th of July? Is that?
Is it the 4th of July next week?
Is it the 3rd of July next Tuesday?
Interesting. Yes, I think.
Maybe we should have some sort of Merca show.
It's so the 3rd. Yeah, some sort of Merca show. All right. Well, next week we'll be doing Merca. And great. Well, this was fun. We will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time, guys.